Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
Let's bring in Mo Egger from ESPN Cincinnati. And Mo, our poll question is, who is the best receiver in the NFL right now? Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, or other? You got some thoughts on that, my dog?
Well, I do, but first, can I ask some questions? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask you 3 questions? Okay, number 1, was that your boat?
How about that?
You've asked that before. No.
Okay, I don't know. Secondly, are you broadcasting from like where you do your morning workout?
As a matter of fact, yes. Johnny O's Gymnasium. I worked out, went home, had a shower, came back. That's 2.
And then, what is with that shirt? There's a lot going on with that shirt. Kansas City Chiefs colors, I would suppose. I don't know. That looks like, I watched a lot of bad music videos in the 90s. I think you stole that from one of the sets. The answer is Justin Jefferson. I'm willing to say that Jamar Chase is in the conversation. But I think Justin Jefferson has often operated in an offense that's just, it's asking him to do more in relation to the talent around him, asking him to do more in relation to the quarterbacks. Nothing against, the Kirk Cousins or whoever they've had in Minnesota. But I think Justin Jefferson owns that title. But it's a fun conversation to have. And it's a fun conversation to have about where the wide receiver market is going next. And that's obviously something we have been focused on a lot here in Cincinnati. I'm sorry if you love that show. I apologize, but there's a lot that hits you right in the eyes when you first look at it.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
Have you ever seen a coach, whether it be on a football life or any sports that you've played, come into the room after a win and said, guys or gals, great win, but we didn't win by enough, so go run the stairs? Said no coach ever. Shut up with that.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. It is the RP Show. It's me, RP. Good to be here. And in this business, it's good to be anywhere, believe me. We're going to have fun today from NHL Radio. I'm going to be fanboy a little bit. Gord, Stellick, and Scott Laughlin are coming up, but both in hour 2. I'm here in the beautiful South Florida studio. Moose is in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. If we can bring him in. Hey, Moose, did you go to the Blue Jays game last night? I didn't see anything on your social media about that. Did you go for a hot dog night last night?
I did. I was a little phones off during the game last night. We just went and enjoyed ourselves, and it was a good time last night. I said 3. I only had 2 hot dogs last night, just 2. Took it easy.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. Just trying to, manage the waistline a little bit.
Moderation, man. Whatever that is. There's this thing called moderation. I don't even know what that is. But Moose survived hot dog night at Rogers Center last night. I'm here. I'll tell you what, this is the climate situation here in the Boca studio, South Florida. I almost went outside to warm up a little bit. The AC is pumping. And I can tell you, Florida is a lot more tolerable of a state to live when you've got good air conditioning. So I thank the landlords here. And, hey, enough of the weather report. Can you hit the quick 6 show horn, please, Director? Tuna Turner has the itchy trigger finger. We got no Jordan today. It's Tuna Turner. What's love got to do with it? Our director today, Steve Tuna Turner.
Damn.
Okay, Moose, just so you know, Clark, chill. I didn't mention you. Coming up in the quick 6, we've got NHL preseason, MLB, Canada's game of the week in the CFL, NFL notes, NHL tonight, and the always popular random. So there's a little something here for everybody. Welcome in the Cardinal has checked in. Ryan from upstate New York. I see everybody. BW in Edmonton. John Ohm. Carlos in Indianapolis. The regular gang is here. Let's get down to business. We're going to start with the NHL preseason. The Vancouver Canucks. Hang on. There's a G in Vancouver, by the way. Vancouver Canucks got power play goals from Nils Höglander and Philip Hronek, and an empty netter from Pius Suter to defeat the visiting Seattle Kraken 3-1 in NHL preseason play on Tuesday night. Elsewhere, Michael Pezzetta scored twice as the Montreal Canadiens beat the visiting New Jersey Devils 3-0. And Zach Ostapchuk scored a shorty in the third to lift the Ottawa Senators to a 2-1 win over the visiting Toronto Maple Leafs. That's the highlights of an 8-game slate. Also, Carolina scored late. They beat Tampa in Tampa 2-1 in the preseason opener for both teams. For the Lightning, for sure. I just want to ask your takeaways, and then I have a far more exciting thing to talk about NHL-related after that. I didn't really care about last night's games. Tonight, it's the Sunshine State Derby, the Battle of Florida. I'm more interested tonight. The Panthers and Lightning will meet in Orlando tonight at the Kia Center. And coming up later today, our Cats and Bolts podcast features Panthers great Bill Lindsay. So I'm not as into last night. Oh, I lost him. There he is. I'm not into last night. Are you into last night, Moose, or can I move on?
No, just a couple of, takeaways. Not much going on last night. One thing is, Buffalo rolls in the preseason again. And, for the Sabres, I've been reading this, that it's like now or never. They've got some good young players, which they've had talented rosters. They need to win this year or there's going to be major changes. At least that's what we're seeing. Couple notes. Artemi Panarin for the Rangers left the game in the third period with I think a lower body injury. So that could be, a bit of a question mark. He was getting evaluated. And former Blade, Igor Sidorov, scored for the Anaheim Ducks last night in preseason play. I think that's his first goal, but I'd have to go back and double check. I just saw Sidorov on the score sheet.
Former Regina Pat, too. Don't forget. And if you want to know why, this isn't helping that Artemi Panarin got hurt for the Rangers. Thomas Nosek got hurt here the other night for Florida is in his Panthers debut. And Paul Maurice telling the media that it's going to be weeks, not days, before Thomas Nosek is able to play again. It was right in front of him. He toppled right into the boards behind the Panthers net on a 2-on-1, going hard to the net. Blank. We've all seen this is why vets largely don't play in the preseason. Well, that's that's a very downtrodden note to talk about with the NHL preseason here on this Wednesday. This is what I would rather talk about. And this is where's my bell? This is what John Ohm was all horny about. Or not John Ohm, John from Edmonton was all excited about yesterday. Hall of Famer Mark Messier will be among the on-air talent for Amazon's new NHL broadcast. Amazon has unveiled its plans for prime Monday Night Hockey, which include Messier working as an analyst for select games. The broadcast team will also include hosts Andy Petrillo, formerly of CBC Sports, and Adnan Virk, who's worked for TSN, ESPN, and the MLB Network. Analysis will come from Blake Bolden, Thomas Hickey, Shane Knighty, and Jody Shelley, while play-by-play will be done by our good friend, former NHL on NBC talent, John Forsland. There's more, but that's the nuts and the bolts of it. And here's why I didn't get real excited, certainly not as excited about John from Edmonton. If it's on, I'll watch it. If I don't get it, I won't watch it. And if I really want it, I'll pay to get it. Let me explain. Last night, I'm flipping through the channels and discovered a whole bunch of channels I didn't know we had. Because as you know, we moved into a new place, got a new cable carrier. And all Serena will watch is high definition. She's a bit of a snob that way. I started going through all the other channels that are standard def and realized that we had NESN, New England Sports Network. So I sat there watching the Bruins and the Washington Capitals last night. I'll watch a cartoon hockey game and be happy. And I don't really care who the announcers are because it's just a spinning carousel of announcers in the booth, on the panels, in between periods. They're all good. I'm not criticizing. I just don't get that into it. Over to you.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about just dropping into a hockey game. I think that's awesome. And for me, I'll do something similar for sure. I really like, the American networks for the most part will have like on Saturday or Sunday, they'll have like the afternoon game. And I always seem to find myself locked into that too on the weekends, which is fun. But no, it's awesome for the folks that are going to do the Amazon games. I think that's going to be great. I'm sure they'll be available somewhere in the U.S., or you'll get them on center ice if you want them. In Canada, it's on Amazon, and that's the idea. But no, it'll be good. John Forsland is great. Andy Petrillo, I love her as a host. She's going to be awesome. Adnan Virk will be good. And if Messier's on there a little bit too, and our friends Shane Knighty and Jody Shelley and the rest, I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good. It'll be fun to see what Amazon does with hockey.
Yeah, they're all good. John Ohm says, I'm not signing up with Amazon or Prime to view hockey games on Monday. That's from John. So again, it's a subjective type of thing. Bomber Boy in Calgary writes, and he says, I can't wait to watch hockey on Prime. All caps. Cardinal Ryan says, the Utah Arena is going to be fun when it's full. I predict the hockey club will be frisky and fun this season. I don't, because there's still the Arizona Coyotes moved to Utah. And to be honest, Chicago's made moves to get better. Other teams in that division have made moves to get better, which, by the way, I meant to make a note of this, and I'm going to make it right now. Squirrel moment. Who's the one team of the 16 Moose that didn't make the playoffs last year in the Stanley Cup playoffs and the NHL that will make it this year? Who's the one that didn't? This is to the audience, and it's to you. And I'll tell you right now, my answer to that is the Detroit Red Wings. But I'm prepped and primed for this because it's in my Wednesday column. Actually, it was posted Monday night in the South Florida Tribune. Detroit is my team that will make the playoffs this year that didn't last year. Do you have an answer to that, or do you want to think about it for a little bit?
It's hard to argue with you in Detroit. It's a great answer. I'll say Ottawa will get in that didn't last year. I think they, with Linus Ullmark, I think goaltending will help them get over the hump. I like Travis Green as a coach, and their young core is going to get a little bit older, a little more mature. So I think Ottawa gets in.
They're off to a great start, sweeping the Leafs. And don't think I didn't notice that you deftly dodged that. Can I just say, because you are in Toronto, is there panic in Leafland? Please tell me there's panic in Leafland, because I don't take joy in others' displeasure. That would be sick. I don't. But I do enjoy Leafs fans losing their heads and running around like chickens in a chicken coop. So is that going on? Please tell me that's going on in Toronto.
Yeah, a little bit. And it's funny because somebody, I can't remember who the female reporter was. I don't even know if I knew who it was or couldn't recognize the voice. But she asked Craig Berube after the game something along the lines of, fans, this is from the fans, but are you starting to panic? And he looked at her like she was speaking in Japanese. He's like, it's the preseason. No, we're not panicking after 2 losses. Like, let's relax a little bit. But the question came up to Craig Berube yesterday.
Okay, good. I love it. Good. Nothing against Craig Berube, but I just love the panic in the Leafland. It warms my heart. We have some new viewers writing. Indy writes in and says, how well do you think Utah will do? Oh, man. People are priming for a huge letdown. They're not getting under. They think this is an expansion team. They think they're the Golden Knights. They think they're the Seattle Kraken. They're not. They're the Arizona Coyote dressed up in disguise. That's what you're getting. Go Google Arizona Coyotes. That's what you're getting. Wayne in Victoria, BC writes in and says, wow, Rod, I haven't even seen any standard definition stations on my cable for years. Well, that's the thing. You need to know where to look for this stuff. And if you want to find the good stuff, like the channel that runs the 24/7 Golden Girls reruns on a marathon here, that's in standard definition. Nesson's in standard definition. PBS is in Forensic Files is in standard definition. So you got to dig to find the good stuff. Don't worry, CFL fans. We got stuff coming for you in football too. But I got to be honest, man. I sign up for this Yahoo.com newsletter every morning, and just to get other opinions. Baseball's a big thing, Darren. I'm not sure if you knew. Number one, Trevor Story hit a tie-breaking double in a 3-run 10th, and the Boston Red Sox rallied past the Blue Jays 6-5 last night. You would know. You were there. The Blue Jays have lost 5 games in a row. But we're at a point now with the Blue Jays, because I don't think they're going to be good for a long time. The window's closed with this group, as far as I'm concerned. So we need to now decide who's our playoff team. We have the Blue Jays as our regular season team, but who are we going to cheer for in the playoffs? Those days are back. The San Diego Padres clinched the playoff spot last night when they turned a triple play to preserve a 4-2 victory over the NL West leading Dodgers. After missing the playoffs last year, Manny Machado and the Pod squad earned the 8th playoff berth in franchise history, and the Houston Astros clinched their 4th straight AL West title with a 4-3 win over the Mariners, overcoming a terrible start to reach the playoffs for an 8th consecutive year. The Astros are the first team to win 4 straight AL West crowns since Oakland did it from 1971 to 1975. So again, the Blue Jays are our regular season team. My playoff team's going to be the Yankees. Dun, 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 dun. Because the playoffs are better when the Yankees are in them. Just like the Stanley Cup playoffs are better when the Leafs are in them. Yankees are my playoff team. Who's yours going to be?
I haven't put enough thought into this, but you did prep me for it. If they get in, because they haven't got in yet, it'll be Seattle. But I think outside of that, I'll jump on the Dodgers train.
Okay, you're one of those guys. Well, I thought maybe I'd convinced you the Padres would be cool enough to follow, because they certainly got the great uniforms. Yes, folks, the RPShow warm-up is brought to you by Sept Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concerts. Canadian-owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. We've got it all. Use promo code RPShow for 15% off now. Check us out at SeatGiant.ca. Look at this, 14 minutes on NHL and MLB. Point 3 of the Quick Six show topics is the Canadian Football League. And by the way, we got some great NFL stuff coming up, too, after the break. But I'll just tease this. We do it every Wednesday, Canada's Game of the Week in the CFL. And I talked to one of my football insiders this morning. You know who he was. Don't blurt his name out. But we're talking about this week's games. And we'll ask you to vote on YouTube and Twitter. What's the game of the week out of them all? Friday night, Edmonton at Winnipeg. Hamilton at BC. And Saturday, a doubleheader, Ottawa at Saskatchewan. That's my vote. And Montreal at Toronto. My vote is Red Blacks Riders. What's yours out of that bunch?
I'm going to go Montreal-Toronto game of the week. I think this is a massive, massive game for the Argos. And they need to show not that they can compete with Hamilton and earn a playoff spot. Toronto needs to show that they're a team that can win a Grey Cup and compete with Montreal. So that for me is my game of the week.
It's not like people don't know this, I would hope. But as I was talking to this football guy here in the States, he's got the big Southern twang. He's like, Rod, the season's almost over. And I'm like, I know. And it's not even October. And but I like it. I like it because I'm going to be focusing on hockey, certainly as soon as the CFL season's over. And obviously NFL, I plan to be at Super Bowl. Let's just get the CFL thing wrapped up. It's been an awesome season. Let's just get it out of the way. Although the best games are coming. You all know I'm a CFL fan. Darcy's watching in Grand Prairie, 902-518-3033. He writes in, he says, wait, there's a 24-hour Golden Girls channel? Sign me up. Oh, yeah, there's a Golden Girls restaurant in Miami as well. We were there in November. We went there. What I tell you, they serve Sophia's lasagna. I'm not gonna say Sophia's lasagna, Dorothy's Denver sandwich, Blanche's. I'm not gonna say. But yeah, if you're a Golden Girls fan, this is where you want to live. So we'll continue the CFL talk when we come back, and we got some really delicious NFL stuff to get into as well. Plus, tonight's NHL games. Gord, Stellick, and Scott Laughlin are on the way. We're live on the Game Plus television network, WQEE Radio. Live streaming on YouTube and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
RP Show continues on this Wednesday, Hump Day. The poll question, what's Canada's game of the week in the Canadian Football League? Clark, when you get a minute and a hand free, please let me know what they're saying on YouTube. You can just barge in with the answer to that if you don't mind. And Moose is with us. He's in Toronto, 902-518-3033. Edmonton at Winnipeg is leading. Wow. Interesting. That surprises me a little bit. Number 2, he says, is Ottawa at Sask. Just so it's from the audience, Moose, Matthew Dubuck is watching. Coach Dubuck from the Cardinal Gibbons Chiefs. He says, go Habs. We need the Rocket 2.0 and Patrick Roy 2.0. Do you really need them? You could probably put them on the ice now. They'd be better than what you got, Coach. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. Are you ready for that football talk, Moose? I said I was talking to my insider today.
Yeah.
And he remains anonymous. Does 3 Down Nation, they don't do that column anymore where they quote the anonymous insiders. Do they do that still? I feel like they don't.
I don't think so.
Okay, so they would, here's the thing. I'll take my quotes from my insiders, my anonymous football guys. I will never tell you who they are, and I won't really say anything bad that'll make the CFL or teams look bad. That column that 3downnation.com had they would take quotes from Football Insiders to just trash each other. Of course, we all read it because who doesn't love reading it? But it was terrible. It's like reading a message board, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? It was all, like anonymous attacks. Not surprising to me that it's gone. But those are the CFL games of the week. Leading the way, Elks at Blue Bombers. Interestingly enough, for the game of the week. Should be a good one. Two great teams. I still got Ottawa Sask. That's a big one. Riders, they need to win every game the rest of the way. Don't think that they're comfortable in there with their playoff spot. And Coach DeBuck and any football people watching right now will enjoy this discussion too. Any given Sunday was more than just a cliche in week 3 for the NFL. 6 winless teams earned their first wins of the season. 9 road teams were winners and 8 underdogs. The week before it was 7. We thought that was high. Underdogs winning. 8 underdogs won in week 3. It's only September, but the NFL season has been unpredictable, which is just the way the league likes it. A league built on parity has seen plenty of competitive balance in the first 3 weeks. 5 teams remain undefeated, though. The Chiefs, Bills, Steelers, Vikings, and Seahawks. The Bengals, Jaguars, and Titans are winless. Now, beyond all of that, what the football people have really gravitated to is this. Passing yards are at an all-time low in the NFL. And to be honest, I read the stat. I didn't really think as to why that was. But when I talked to my football insider this morning, and trust me, the rest of you football guys, I'll be calling you before the week's over, so get ready. Be by your phones. But I said, Coach, why are the passing yards way down and the rushing yards way up? And he said, this is NFL. There's no 400-pound defensive lineman anymore. Remember how there used to be? The Vince Wilforks and even the Tony Siraguses. Everybody had a 400-pounder or 2 at the tackle spots and some pretty big boys on the ends. He said there's smaller bodies now. He goes, it's too hard to run at that size. So the D linemen are smaller, which makes rushing the football easier, and teams would rather run the football. And to go a little further down that road, they don't really want to pass. If you have to choose between the two, they want to run. This is what he said, not me. And there's that old football line. I'm sure you've heard it. If you throw the football, 3 things will happen. One of 3 things will happen, and 2 of them are bad. Incompletion, interception, or completion. 2 of the 3 things that could happen when you throw the football are bad. So they'd rather run. How do you feel about that? Just that comment from the insider. I'm not saying he's right, but that's just what he said.
Well, no, when things go one way, he's right. When things go one way, you make adjustments to try and catch up. It has become a passing league on both sides of the border. And so what do you need when it becomes a passing league? You need, defensive ends who can become linebackers, and also, more fit, more agile linemen are a lot more effective on the pass rush to get to the quarterback. So that's what happens. They get a little thinner, they get a little more lean, more athletic to try and, defend the passing game. Now the coordinators are seeing that, and it's like, hey, well, now there's an opportunity to run the football. If the run games start to take over, we'll see the big guys come back on the D-line because they'll say, hey, we need some big bodies here to stop the run, and it'll cycle back to passing. We're just seeing the pendulum swinging back and forth here a little bit.
I knew this would perk up the football crowd. Utah Darren writes in, and he says there's more check downs and short passes being thrown as well. Well, certainly, I've seen the shovel passes in the games. That's kind of like a run, obviously, if it's inside the tackles as well. So short passes would account for passing yards being down, for sure. Carlos in Indianapolis says it's cyclical. Passing eras give to running eras. Speed eras give to power eras. Well, this is where it's going. So this is the kind of stuff that's fun to stay on top of. I'll read this comment. Bomber Boy writes in, he says, the Ottawa versus Saskatchewan revenge game for the Saskatchewan running back. Oh, yeah, these are deeply intrinsic storylines if you really want to get into it. Ottawa cut a running back by the name of Rock Armstead because he was a bad actor. He signs in Saskatchewan and rips off 207 yards rushing. Hey, everybody's here. Talk about whatever they want to talk about. Fortunately, you and I are smart guys, and we can talk about it all. So that renegade, pun intended, running back Rock Armstead runs for 207 yards in his Saskatchewan debut, the most in CFL history for a running back making his debut. Now he faces his former team. Do you think part of the 207 yards is that he was unpredictable and the Calgary defense didn't know much about him? Like, what's expected out of him this week against his old team and what the viewers are saying is a revenge game for him?
Yeah, it could be a revenge game for him for sure. We saw it in the NFL with Derrick Henry against the Dallas Cowboys, running a little bit angry. I wouldn't expect 200 yards. I don't think I would expect 150 yards. I would expect him to touch the football a bunch, but I would also expect Ottawa, after watching last week, to be dialed in defensively to stop the run first and make Trevor Harris beat you with his arm, which he's capable of doing. And there's enough weapons in that Saskatchewan offense. I think he'll be motivated, but I'm really curious to see, this return game against Ottawa. Should be fun.
Jeff, the Stamps fan, says there is no one outside Rider Nation who isn't cheering for Jeremiah Masoli to shove it down the Riders' throat. Everyone remembers. He had his knees taken out there a couple of years ago. Looked like his career was over, but fortunately he's back and he's making the start this week because Ottawa clearly doesn't know who their quarterback's going to be. Now, furthermore, I'm going to tell a little personal story that's going to bring in football, and you'll love it. Trust me. And by the way, it's just me and Moose in hour one. Gord, Stellick, and Scott Laughlin coming up in hour two, separately from NHL Radio. But, I saw this coach. I guess you'd call her a life coach. I think she calls herself a spiritual coach. And she said to me way back some time ago, she goes, you need to release the anger. So I did, because I said, I don't want to be angry, and I don't want it to be evident to people that I'm angry. So I released it that day. And it was honestly a huge weight off my shoulders. So now when I look at things like the revenge game and I look at the hate between teams and fan bases, I don't feel it because I've released it all. And it's a great way to live. Point is this. This morning, I'm running at Johnny O's listening to Pro Football Talk again. They played a clip of Bill Belichick, who took a shot at the New York Jets. And I'm not sure if you saw it all the way up in Canada where you are, but they asked Belichick on one of the million shows he's on now how he feels about Sam Darnold lighting it up with the Vikings this year. And he goes, well, I talked to every team, and the only team that didn't like Sam Darnold as a free agent was the Jets. And everybody broke out laughing. Like the only team that doesn't like him is Bill Belichick's biggest foe. And then they spent 10 minutes on Pro Football Talk talking about the hate between Belichick and the Jets and how that'll never go away. And a further discussion, maybe we'll move it to Football Friday or push it towards Football Friday, is who does Bill Belichick coach next? Because they're saying it could be the Giants, it could be the Cowboys, if we make a move there, Jaguars, anybody who's on death watch, any football team that's ready to make a move, Belichick, they say, is going to be the next guy. But how do you feel about Belichick taking a shot at the Jets? Clearly, they don't like each other. Does that make him look bad, or is it just funny?
It depends kind of how he does it, because I'm pretty sure Rex Ryan still takes shots at the New England Patriots and, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, because he hated those guys. But he does it in a way that's kind of tongue-in-cheek and a little bit funny. And he just puts it out there. He's like, would you expect me to like those guys? Of course I hate the Patriots. They were our arch enemy my time when I was in New York with the Jets. So as long as Bill seems to be a decent sport, as long as he's open to that and not being bitter, and just being like, look, I'm always going to hate them and you should understand why, and that's not changing. Then I think it's fair game because it's part of who he is. It's part of his identity and part of his brand. And I'm cool with that.
Okay, cool. That's why I asked you. Because let's be honest, I spent a lot of time the last 2 years in Calgary and thought maybe there was going to be some sort of association for this show there. And while the hockey people were great and fans, the football fans really weren't. It's nice that Jeff the Stamps fan tunes in here and some of those other Stamps fans, but largely they couldn't get over the fact that I was the Rider guy. And I was like, hey, I don't live there anymore. I don't plan to live there. Let's do business. But they couldn't get over it. So here's me paying thousands to this life coach in South Beach, and she's like, release the anger, get over it, move on. That's not a sports thing. They don't do that in sports, Moose. is my point, and largely the media. So, yeah, it's kind of a weird feeling, but I know that I don't like feeling that way. It's gross. If Belichick takes a shot at the Jets because it's funny, then it's funny. Then it's part of the brand. I would hope there's not a real hate there.
Right.
Because hate eats you up. Hate eats you up. And it's not worth it. I'm going to take a timeout in a second. They really want to talk about, you'd think it was Football Friday, here on this Wednesday. Trust me, folks, a lot of hockey next hour when Gord, Stellick, and Scott Laughlin join. It's Laughlin, right? You were down at the NHL Radio studios. Scott gets a kick out of the fact that I pronounce his name improperly, right? Am I saying it's Laughlin?
You got it.
Okay. Because it's spelled Laughlin. So I feel like he's saying it wrong, not me. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, I don't think we Stamp fans hold any malice to you anymore, Rod. I certainly don't. I appreciate that, Jeff, because, as I say, whether it was real or it wasn't back in the day, it is over. We all hated each other. It was a rivalry, but I'm not going to live that way the rest of my life. I'm not. So thank you, Jeff, the Stamps fan, for saying that. It ain't worth it. It's fun to talk about at banquets and stuff. Sure, get it going, but not on a day-to-day basis. It ain't worth it. We got a sports update coming up. We'll take more of your questions. It's just Moose and I in hour one. We'll be right back here on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, streaming on YouTube, and also Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Now the race is on and here comes pride in the backstretch.
Celebrate 40 years of Sawyer Brown.
Some girls don't like boys like me.
With Shenandoah.
You got to get me to the church on the Cumberland Road.
Plus special guest George Fox. Saturday, October 26th, Moose Jaw Event Center.
I'll take the dirt road.
Tickets are on sale now at the Moose Jaw Event Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
6 days on the road and I'm
Sawyer Brown and Shenandoah live.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
It's daytime sports talk and fun sports talk at that. Hey, by the way, we're brought to you in part by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Whether you're prepping for the big game or just want to have some fun, Overtime Hockey Lanes has got you covered. Check them out at 28th Street, Northeast Calgary. Before you bring the Moose back in, let me just tell you what's happening in the sports update. The Blue Jays continue their stumble towards the offseason tonight as they finish a 3-game series with the Boston Red Sox at Rogers Center. Meanwhile, the Chicago White Sox remain tied with the 1962 Mets for the modern Major League record of 120 losses in a season after rallying to beat the Angels 3-2 last night. White Sox fans booed the final out, apparently unhappy they didn't get to witness history. There are 2 all-Canadian battles on the NHL preseason slate tonight. The Oilers, coming off a pair of split squad losses to the Flames, visit the Winnipeg Jets. Meanwhile, the Flames travel to Abbotsford. And the Connecticut Sun and Minnesota Lynx aim to secure WNBA semifinal spots tonight, each holding 1-0 leads in their best-of-3 first-round playoff series. The Lynx host the Phoenix Mercury. The Sun face the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark. Last night, the Las Vegas Aces swept the Seattle Storm, and the New York Liberty eliminated the Atlanta Dream. 92-81. Sorry, Rhino Radio down there in Atlanta. Okay, if we can bring the Moose in, we'll tell you that we are brought to you in part by Landmark Cinemas. Coming to Landmark Cinemas October 4th, Joker. From acclaimed writer-director Todd Phillips comes Joker, Folie à Deux, the much-anticipated follow-up to 2019's Academy Award-winning Joker, which earned more than $1 billion at the global box office and remains the highest-grossing R-rated film of all time. The Joker in Landmark Cinemas October 4th. Moose, you were a bit of a spoiler yesterday. Probably a good thing. You were just trying to warn me about that movie, but you want to?
Yeah, I don't think that was spoiling. I think that was just doing you a solid. You're like, I'm going to go to the Joker. This would be great. I want to see it. And granted, you and I had a great time when Landmark invited us to the premiere. We had an awesome time. It was awesome. And I think the second one will still be pretty good. But I let you know that I found out it's a musical. Lady Gaga's in it, she's awesome, but it's a musical. So if you're into that, enjoy.
You were warning me. That's what you were doing. Yeah, I'm not spoiling, warning. I went to that movie yesterday, as you know. It's called The Killer's Game. Have you heard of it? The Killer's Game? I went to that movie yesterday afternoon. You heard of it? I didn't see the end of it. Let's put it. I didn't see the end of it. So here's the plot of The Killer's Game, starring Dave Bautista. You know who that guy is? Dave Bautista?
Yeah.
You know who that is?
Yeah, it was a wrestler, WWE.
Do?
Yeah, and he's in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Sure. Some big steroided up rage. Yeah. He was the star. Sophia Boutella, Terry Crews, Scott Atkins, if you know these people. You know Terry Crews from America's Got Talent.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, Dave Bautista is a hitman, and he starts dating Sophia Boutella, but he finds out he has a debilitating disease, a terminal illness, and he's about to die. So he goes to his competition in the assassin world and says, I'm going to put out a hit on myself, and I want to give her the insurance money. So these assassins are all racing to kill him because he put a bounty on himself, but then he finds out that he got a misdiagnosis from the doctor, and he's like, no, what was wrong? I'm not going to die. But they're still trying to kill him. And his whole thing is trying to dodge that and save the damsel in distress. And honestly, it's an okay plot, but the sci-fi and the stuff was kind of weird. It was pretty gross.
I was going to say, you got me hooked on it, man. A little bit.
It's an okay story. Yeah, it's 1 thumb up, not 2. not must go, is D's. And by the way, I was talking with Moose earlier about the Amazon Prime crew, which I know is a big deal. I heard Shane Knighty this morning on NHL Radio with Gord Stellick and Scott Laughlin talking about him being announced as the color guy in Amazon Prime Monday Night Hockey. I've known Knides since 1993 when he was on the PA Raiders and I was the broadcaster. I was 20 years old as the broadcaster. He was 17. He thought I was ancient, which, by the way, in your teenage years, a 20-year-old is ancient. But my thing is, as I said earlier, if you weren't watching, if it's on, I'll watch it. If I don't get it, I won't watch it. And if I really want something, I'll pay to get it. But last night I flipped onto the WNBA playoffs. I watched a little bit of the game in New York, and it looked like they were playing in the Barclays Center. I can take it or leave it. Basketball, period, men or women. But I'll tell you that logo for the New York Liberty is hot. I love it. It's like the top of Statue of Liberty's hand. I'm not sure if you saw it.
Yeah.
Did you watch any of the playoffs last night or Sunday by chance?
No, I didn't. It just, to me, not basketball season, so I'm not in or following it. But it's cool. I kind of following, the highlights a little bit and who's doing what. So it is interesting. But you're right, that logo is pretty cool, and I know which one you're talking about.
A couple things. Coach DeBuck says the UNLV quarterback just left the team after a 3-0 start because he's not getting the NIL money he was promised at this point. Shake my head. That's from DeBuck. I heard it. He called a news conference. The quarterback at UNLV, team's not paying him the name, image, likeness money, so he walked. Yeah, welcome to sports in 2024. It's like literally hang on to your hat. Hopefully you're sitting down. Nothing makes sense. Have we not figured that out yet? From Bill in the Queen City, the guy that sent me the Ron and Don bobblehead, he writes it and he says, are you doing any coverage of the President's Cup in Montreal? What is that? Judging by my answer, no. Maybe Darren is. What is the President's Cup?
Yeah, it starts this week in Montreal. It is like the Ryder Cup. It is the USA against the Internationals. Mike Weir's the captain for the international team. He's got 3 Canadians, on the roster. So it'll be a little competition down at Royal Montreal. Starts on Thursday. I'm sure it'll appear in your sports updates.
Probably not. Come on, Bill. Listen, if you tuned in here for golf coverage, you're going to be disappointed. We keep it on NFL, CFL, NHL, and probably a little bit of college football too. Utah, Darren writes in regarding what Coach DeBuck said. The UNLV quarterback will not be the last to do this. Boy, there's a lot to keep up with in sports right now. Silly me. I call a long-time former NFL, CFL coach this morning, and we got into the trends in why teams are rushing the football more than passing. And I could have read this article on how college football administrations are structuring their office like NFL teams because that's what it's becoming. It's not becoming. It is now pro football. And obviously, the viewers are interested in it. I mean, for me, you understand there's 2 very distinct and different parts of sports. There's what you see on the field, and ice, and diamond, and then there's what goes into going on the field. That's what Matt's talking about. And I'm at a point now where I can't keep straight what's going on off the field. It's too much. How about you?
It's a lot, and it has completely changed. Like in college sports and university sports in Canada, your coach, your football team runs your program and is your program. But now it's such a big deal when you have to think about, not just recruiting high school players, but recruiting from other levels, from other schools within NCAA, for transfers and the portal, that you need somebody that's on the recruiting trail full time. And teams have all along had a recruiting coordinator, but now we're seeing them hire flat out GMs at the college football level. You're right. It's becoming more like pro ball every day and completely changing the way, we look at college football.
just because I'm a nice guy, I'm not going to leave everybody hanging. But I said we'll go to a break here right away, but I said to that Football Insider this morning, I said, number one, why are the Calgary Stampeders struggling so much? He goes, I just don't think they're that good. They don't have the talent that they're used to having. And then the other thing we talked about, frankly, everything right here, I guess here, because he goes, back in the day, NFL, CFL coaches did a lot of the recruiting and the scouting because that's where their contacts were. Now, coaches just coach. And these teams have complete personnel scouting departments. You know what I mean? Where those lines used to be blurred and gray. Now they're very distinct. We'll find you the players, you coach. And it's paying off for some teams, not for others. We'll get into that more when we come back. And by the way, hour two, might as well just say now, hour two will be all hockey when Gord, Stellick, and Scott Laughlin join us because it's a big night in the National Hockey League with 8 preseason games. We'll be right back here on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, live streaming on YouTube, also Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
This is unfortunately a quickie, but that's our fault for talking too long last segment. I feel like this is going to carry over into hour two. Obviously, we're broadcasting from South Florida. I appreciate everybody chiming in on this football discussion. It's gotten deep. Let's bring Moose in. Patrolman Pete in Winnipeg, though, with a real nice comment. He says, this show is like a warm, fuzzy blanket. All is well when Rod and Moose are on the air talking sports. James Warnicki writes in, he says, the changes in college football are not for the better. The transfer portal has ruined college football. Look at the scores. The have-not teams are getting blown out. We talk about that UNLV quarterback who's pulling the pin 3 games into the season because he's not being paid what he was promised with NIL money. Darren, you got a contract. Basically, this is what you're offered. That's why you went to UNLV. Let me tell you something. Sports is screwed up. It makes no sense. So for anybody to sit around and spend their time trying to figure it out, you'll drive yourself crazy because there's no answer to it. It doesn't make any sense. And I have 2 former pro football presidents that watch this show regularly. And when this NIL thing came down a couple years ago, they wrote me and said, Rod, that money's not to be used to recruit players. It's written into the Constitution. I'm like, are you that stupid? Or are you just pretending that you don't know? Because that's why do you think players are going to go? So with the UNLV quarterback, can you blame him? If he's not being paid the money he was promised, I would walk out too. What do you think?
Yeah, and to do it when your team's 3-0 is going to have a bigger effect too. So it's kind of sitting there being like, hey, I'm doing this. And he probably was behind closed doors saying, hey, I'm going to leave if you don't honor your side of this. They said, we can't honor your side of it. So he went and actually said he's going to use a redshirt year. And we'll see how it plays out from here.
It's pretty easy to me. And we all know the players have the sway now. They've got the stroke that they didn't have before. This kid's got big balls that I admire him. You said you were going to pay me this. You haven't, so I'm leaving. I don't know how anybody would say that don't understand that. I understand they go back on deals. He's holding them to their end of the bargain, and they're not doing it. I applaud it. Sorry, coach. Oh, and here's one from Milt Stiegel on TSN. Oh, we're only down to 30 seconds. I missed the 60-second countdown. Milt says, is it odd that the top 3 leaders in the CFL, Bo Levi, McLeod Bethel-Thompson, and Jake Mayer, could all miss the playoffs? No, it's not odd. Could you see a guy leading the NHL in scoring, but his teams miss the playoffs? His team misses the playoffs? This is the same thing. Darren, don't spend the next 3 minutes trying to sort it out because you can't. I'll see you in hour 2, okay?
Later.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the City of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Have you ever seen a coach, whether it be on a football life or any sports that you've played, come into the room after a win and said, guys or gals, great win, but we didn't win by enough, so go run the stairs? Said no coach ever. Shut up with that.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, everybody, it's hour 2, and I've never seen that, by the way. I've never seen that. Oh, I ran out in the break. There we go. We're back. It's hour 2. It will be a lot of hockey this hour later on. Gord, Stellick, and Scott Laughlin coming up. But we're in one, football-wise, if we can bring the Moose in. And I do appreciate my good friend Matt Dubuck for bringing it up. I've got the story here, Darren. Yeah, we're in one. For those that have just tuned in for hour 2, we don't have a lot of time here in this segment. This is the last one with Darren right now. Coach Matt Dubuck, my good friend here in Fort Lauderdale of the Cardinal Gibbons Chiefs, CFL alum, brought this up. The starting quarterback for undefeated UNLV has announced on social media that he will not play in any more games this season. Matthew Sluka said Tuesday he will instead use his redshirt year. Sluka posted on Twitter that he committed to UNLV based on representations that were made to him, which were not upheld after he enrolled, and which he said he would not be fulfilled in the future. The senior transfer from Holy Cross has thrown for 318 yards and 6 touchdowns and rushed for 286 and a TD for the 3-0 Rebels, who host Fresno State on Saturday. So I don't even really know what side of this Dubuck is on. So maybe if you're still watching, Coach, you tell me. Oh, he's probably taking the field for practice this afternoon. But the school didn't hold up their end of the deal. I'm on the players' side, I guess is my point. You, Darren?
Yeah, I'm on the players' side too. You know, obviously, I would assume, and you can't assume in this business anymore, but I would assume that they've had conversations about this, and this is kind of a last measure for the player. So he's doing this. He's not, I don't imagine the players throwing, let's call it a tantrum, at the first sign of not getting paid or not getting his, agreement held up. I'm sure he's went to them. And when you know that they're not going to do it and there's no signs of this being done in the future, this is the option. And I would imagine that's where they're at. And for the player, I'm on the player's side. If he's at this point being like, look, it's not held up and I could have went somewhere else, yeah, I'm out. And with the transfer portal the way it is, the players have more power than they ever had. So, and he's got a great tape. If he's 3-0, already at UNLV, he's going to have options next year to go play somewhere else. So he's got all the power.
Yeah, he sounds like Jeff Garcia, judging by his stats. And so you have to understand, dude, I came up like you from the employee side. Just give me my paycheck every 2 weeks and I'll do my thing and everybody's happy. And largely I got that. But I don't look at it that way anymore. I'm a general contractor, as are you. And so I don't know what side Dubuck on this is, if he's still that, the team first mentality. What, you're walking out on your team. Tell the school that. Because they said they were going to give me, I think it's $100,000. Don't blame me, blame them. Because to be honest, I certainly not going to name any names here, but with one of my other businesses, we had a little issue, Moose, with me being paid, my company. Had to bring in my guy, Joe. You know Joe? My business manager. And I got this song and dance as to why they couldn't pay. And I said, hey, I'm sure you guys are nice guys. Sure you are. You're paying. Or we're never doing business again. And I'll do you a favor by not running your name through the mud. Just make sure you pay. That was what I said. Joe said he was going to be the not nice Joe. Guess what? We got paid. That's business. So, right? That's the thing. I don't know where Dubuck is on this, and I don't have time to sift through all the comments to see, are you on the player's side, the school side, whatever. You're walking out on your team. Not my fault. They didn't hold up their end of the bargain. For that reason, I'm on the player's side. Before I get to some of the comments here, poll question today, which is Canada's game of the week in the CFL. We do it every Wednesday. There are 4 games every week. It works out awesome. I'm a little surprised because Edmonton at Winnipeg is leading. And where are you Elks fans at? Last I saw on Twitter here, they have not announced a starting quarterback yet, Edmonton. Have I missed something, or have they announced their starting quarterback? Trey Ford or McLeod?
My understanding is that it's going to be McLeod Bethel Thompson. I saw Jason Greger talking about this on Twitter this morning. And he's pretty upset that Trey Ford's not being given any leniency as a starting quarterback. One bad performance, and he's on the bench, where McLeod Bethel Thompson was allowed to start 0-7 before they pulled the pin. But Macbeth did come back a couple weeks ago and looked really good. Won a game before Trey Ford took over the starting job again. So I think it'll be Macbeth starting at QB.
39% voting for that game. Elks Bombers. 36% voting for Ottawa at Saskatchewan. Jeremiah Masoli starting for Ottawa. Hamilton at BC, only 9% of the vote. And Montreal at Toronto, 16%. But how about this? As I was talking to a football insider this morning, he was like, Rod, the season's almost over. That's right. And it's not even October. I like the season being moved up. I really do. But how about this? 3 teams don't even know who their quarterback is. Ottawa, Edmonton, or BC. Although BC does. It's unfair to say that. They know that it's Nathan Rourke this week. With regards to whose side are you on in this UNLV quarterback situation, quarterback walking out, Utah, Darren writes in, he says, the quarterback, he's on the QB's side. It is sad for UNLV. It's the best start since Randall Cunningham was there. Tell them to pay their quarterback. Then they'll have him. Then it won't be sad. Brent in Wellington, Florida writes in, he says, the mob ain't got nothing on you, Roddy. Ski mask and baseball bats if you don't pay. I'm sorry. I can't call my credit card and say, hey, sorry, guys, but I can't pay you right now. Done. Yeah. Jeremy in Winnipeg, nobody's waiting for me to pay, so why would I wait for somebody else to pay? Jeremy in Kansas City, he's a Kansas City fan, but he's in Winnipeg. He writes in, he says, NIL ruins college. Guys walk in, how much am I getting paid? Get out, get an education, show up and play hard. Make the show, get the bread. Guys get the bread before they even make the NFL. Oh, my God. Here's the problem with this, Darren. you can't go back and just scrub it and start all over again in college football. You had 100 years of players not being paid at all, and that was wrong. And now you have this. Players are making millions in some cases, and they've botched that too. It's not fixable. You know that, right? It's not fixable.
Hard to put that genie back in the bottle. Once it's out, it's really, really tough to go backwards. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. What we love, the charming college football athletes, playing and just trying to get their shot at the next level. For a lot of them, this is it, and they're going to capitalize and make as much money as they can. It's a business now.
Yeah, I go back to last hour when I said I had those football president type guys say to me, Rod, you have it wrong. NIL money is not to be used to recruit. And I'm like, you guys, are you this dumb? Or are you playing dumb? Because Friday night, I'm going to be at a high school football locker room again, and I hear the players talk. So-and-so's getting this from this school. So-and-so's getting this school. Or getting this from this school. Right? This is in the high school locker rooms. So, of course, they're going to go to whoever's paying them the most. And then UNLV doesn't pay their guy, so he's walked out on the team. I think what I like about this, we've all decided that we're on the quarterback side. And that's good. Jeremy in Winnipeg continues. He says, shouldn't it be pay for education, free ride? He's saying, isn't the free tuition enough? We're not going to sort and settle this here today on this show. I don't want to debate it anymore. Other than Brent in Wellington, Florida writes, and he says, has anyone brought up the mere fact NCAA had multiple opportunities to do this right years ago and now have this to deal with? Shame on them, not these kids, making the ching. Of course. Assigning blame is fair, but it doesn't do anything, doesn't solve anything. So the schools were greedy. Hey, what does that solve? It's not the players' fault. Yeah, great. Kirk in Toronto writes in. He says, Oakland has now lost all 3 of their pro sports teams in just a few years. How very sad. Well, it's funny. That's not funny. But they didn't want to build new facilities for their team. And Oracle Arena, where the Golden State Warriors play, that's a dump too, right? They've lost the Raiders. They've lost the A's. I was just thinking about Calgary. I went to college there, and they were drunk on the euphoria of oil money and billions of dollars being made. And in the end, they didn't have money to build a football stadium nor a hockey rink. And thank God they got a premier in there, and Danielle Smith, who basically said, yeah, we're going to do this with the hockey rink, and it's happening. Or else they would have lost the Flames. So what I'm saying is, where all that money you were making in the oil is kind of similar to all that money the NCAA was making for years. And at the end, where did it all go? We drank it all on wine. We, bought cattle ranches with it. Stop and think about it. Well, you're spending. But that's just farm mentality that I learned from my parents. Greg in Calgary writes, and he says, hi, Rod. In hockey, I'll take New Jersey to make the playoffs. And in football, I like Edmonton versus Winnipeg as Canada's game of the week. Speaking of Calgary, thank you, Greg from Calgary, for getting us back on track. Because way back an hour ago, and maybe this is a good time to get this on track, as Gord Stellick joins us next, right, Clark? And then Scott Laughlin. I just kind of casually threw out there, who's the one team that you think that didn't make the playoffs last year in the NHL will make the playoffs this year? I have said the Detroit Red Wings, and part of that is my own fault, Darren, because I'm now an American and a U.S., well, I'm not an American officially, but I am a U.S. resident, getting a lot of friends from Detroit. And they're good guys. By name, George Eichhorn and Lou Gamelin and guys like that. And they got me drinking the Kool-Aid. They got me drinking the red Kool-Aid on the Detroit Red Wings. They're like, we got Cam Talbot in here. He was an all-star last year. We signed Tarasenko. We already had Patrick Kane. He's back. Moritz Seider. Dude, I got myself thinking they're going to win the Stanley Cup, let alone win the make the playoffs. Who was your team again?
Yeah, mine was Ottawa. I think they've improved goaltending. That young core is getting more mature and older. They got a great coach in Travis Green. I like him. But, we glossed over New Jersey. And I think, I didn't even think of New Jersey as being a non-playoff team last year, because we're all looking at them as being a team that's a lock for the playoffs and a team that should contend for a Stanley Cup. And the odds makers have New Jersey as a top 5 Stanley Cup favorite. I think they're a lock to make the playoffs, but I went with Ottawa when you asked.
Should we be writing these down so we can come back in the spring and poo-poo each other or congratulate each other?
Write it on the whiteboard, Clark.
Think New Jersey. I don't necessarily think New Jersey's all that, but they could be. They got Jacob Markstrom. They got Sheldon Keefe. But here's the thing. Lindy Ruff couldn't get him into the playoffs. And these are some delicious things we can get into with Gord Stellick. Stellictricity. And Scott Laughlin. But look at Lindy Ruff going back to Buffalo. Darren, I can't think. You're the guy, I think, that says you can't go back. It was the 90s that Lindy Ruff coached in Buffalo, okay? And now he's back. What makes you think this is going to work? Not you, but them. I think that shocked a lot of people when Lindy Ruff was. Sure, it shocked me when they hired
It's
you.
a shock. Yeah, it's a shock. And I get, what makes you think it's going to work? Well, Lindy Ruff's a good hockey coach. He's always been a good hockey coach. Whether he can push the right buttons and get that team into the playoffs, they need to. They must get into the playoffs this year, I believe. They've got enough talent, but will they? I don't know. But that's the thing in sports and in life. We want to go back and say, this was our greatest memories. This was the greatest era. So let's just try and do that again. Let's bring back the Buffalo logo with the saber head, the buffalo head. Let's bring back the black and red. Let's bring back the old coach. Let's try and do it the way we did. And it's the same, you have a great vacation as a family. It's like, let's recreate that vacation. Let's go back to the same place. Let's get everybody back together. The same party we had when we were young. It's never the same the second time around. You can't recreate it because when it happens the first time, you're not planning it to happen like that. It just happens. So you need to just find the new way forward and let it happen and make new memories.
I knew that was your feeling on it. That's why I asked. Joshua writes in, South Florida. He says, what's going on, Rod? Looking forward to fire up Florida next week, next Monday night. Are you covering the Panthers in Orlando tonight? Well, I'm not going, but I am covering the game. Battle of Florida fires up tonight at the Kia Center, Panthers and Lightning. Thanks for tuning in, Joshua. Bomber Boy writes in, he says, if the Devils stay healthy, they can sneak in, but they have a lot of glass players. Randy in Winnipeg says New Jersey was a lock last year. How did that work out? Jay in Winnipeg says, give me Utah. And from Bomber Boy, he says satellite radio, NHL channel is elite. Vouch. See, Moose, I got the lingo. Have a great afternoon.
All right. You too.
Gord Stellick joins us next from NHL Radio, Tirana. We're live on the Game Plus television network, WQEE Atlanta, where we are Atlanta's NHL station, NHL show on 99.1 FM. We're streaming live on YouTube and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
RPShow is brought to you in part by EMJ Marketing. Connect with thought leaders and industry experts through EMJ Marketing Speakers Bureau. Check out our roster at emjmarketing.com. Broadcasting live from South Florida. Tonight, the Panthers meet the Lightning in Orlando at the Kia Center. I'll tell you what, talking NHL, please bring in Gord Stellick. Gordy, this is a thrill of mine. I've been a fan of yours since the 80s. And as you just and I listen to you every morning on NHL Radio, you just discovered we had an old email address for you or something. We've been trying for ages to get you on. And I'm like, he's not responding. I hear he's a great guy, but he's ignoring us. You finally got it to work, Gord.
Yeah.
Is that the deal?
I rely on my wife and my kids, as far as technological stuff goes. So yes, I got a different email. I'm glad we connected. Caught the show, of course. So I just thought I thought you were Scott Laughlin crazy. So I'm glad to be part of the group. How about that?
Well, we are. I'm a big fan of Scott's too, but I'm glad to connect with you, man. And I guess you're here to talk hockey, and let's do that. One thing I've been asking is if there's one team that's going to make the playoffs this year that didn't last year, who would that? Maybe there'll be more than one, but who's the one team that you think has the best chance to get in that didn't last year or for a while?
Well, yeah, it's funny, all the different teams. Like, I mean, what are the Calgary Flames this year, right? Big mystery. What are the St. Louis Blues? I'll say St. Louis in the West because I like where they're going. I think maybe they could be a little bit of this year's Nashville and, being that kind of pleasant surprise. So I'm looking there. And then, man, the East, Rod, wow. I mean, at the end of it, Pittsburgh was 8-2-2 and didn't make the playoffs. And, Detroit should have been there, then fell out at the end. And I still say it's going to be the Detroit Red Wings because, when Patrick Kane signed with the team last year, I thought that was it, game, set, match. Now he's back again. He doesn't want to be on a team that's not going to be in the playoffs. So I got to think that they are the team. But it's going to come down to the final day, which I've loved because I can't stand those seasons where, it's decided game number 75 rather than game number 82.
It's interesting. So all the NHL fans have perked up. Jay in Winnipeg writes in, and he says the Jets are going with all their starters tonight except Hellebuck. They've got the Oilers in there. The Panthers just put out their lineup for the game in Orlando tonight I just mentioned, and I don't know any of these guys. Well, I know who they are, but they're not vets. Gordy, you've been through this. I don't think the NHL preseason has changed from your day as a GM to now. The coaches don't want anybody getting hurt. Like, what's your take on the preseason?
Well, Rod, if it went by preseason records, I would be tied with Scotty Bowman. I would still be there for 40 years in a general manager's chair based on great preseasons followed by not such great regular seasons. And you see it in every sport right now except baseball. There's spring training's got a rhythm to it, getting your arms going, but NBA has no preseason basically. NFL, CFL, really basically none as well. And so you've got the disparity of the younger players trying to make an imprint, the veteran players trying to get in shape and just not get hurt, and then continually the road team bringing a lineup of AHLers and the home team loading up like Winnipeg is tonight. So it's almost like they're even tough to evaluate. And you do basically give that, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 regular season games. Say a guy like Easton Cowan in Toronto. It's accepted that whether he's ready for the NHL or not, that he'll get more of a test when the regular season begins, and other teams will do the same to see these top prospects in real games and where they fare. The other part is if you're the Ottawa Senators or Columbus or a team that struggled, San Jose, Anaheim, you name it, you got a chance to make an impression. You got a chance the old-fashioned way that you could be a marginal player that makes an impression, and they've been so bad that there's spots there and they value how you played, and you might slide into an NHL spot.
Well, and I guess it's different team by team than team then. Like, I think the Flames are trying to build some confidence, and Huberdeau had 3 assists the other night. So everybody's excited about that, yet the Oilers don't care that they dropped 2 games to the Flames in split squad, right? So it's different for every team, basically.
Oh, it is. It is. You're right. You got the winning teams are the ones that, they're just tuning up. Others like, look in Buffalo. Like, how much is it important for Lindy Ruff to have a winning culture? Again, they're beating AHL lineups, but just that intangible about starting out with a win. I tend to minimize it, but I thought in Utah that was a great event. That's one place it was an event. It was an exhibition game, and the way they won it, added to the theater that went on. But it's like, I love right now, the very best time of year is the playoffs, because you've got 16 teams that made it, full of optimism. This is a different kind because you've got 32 teams and it's all their best case scenarios right now. They're looking at the board and kind of going, what if all this happens? What if Rod makes it this year? What if that Scott Laughlin free agent, and all these things, and we become the Nashville of this year. And very quickly in the regular season, teams will start to fall back, have losing streaks, develop problems. But right now, I do, that's one thing I miss working with a team. It is a genuine optimism. I said the other day, it's not like starting school. If you got a 50 in calculus last year, you ain't getting a 70, okay? You're just hoping you're going to get by. But with an NHL team, the sky's the limit right now as far as your optimism goes.
Well, but what I like about you on the radio is you're honest and you're not affiliated with a team, so you can be honest. And I want your opinion on this. Everybody's excited about Utah across the NHL. The fans certainly are. And I'm like, they're not an expansion team. They're the Arizona Coyotes. So, there's excitement, Gord. You can feel that. But I don't think they're going to be any good. I just feel like the fans need to, figure it out on their own. Because I don't think they're going to be any good. You?
Well, it's funny. Yeah, they're still there. It's funny. The West has a lot of teams, and I throw Utah in there. Chicago, 2 of the California-based teams that really don't appear to be ready to be in the playoffs, where in the East, everybody, even Columbus, thinks they're going to be in the playoffs. Montreal, or fight for the playoffs. Montreal still says they're doing a rebuild. They may be better off than Columbus. But and by the way, the coach in Arizona, now Utah, he got a lot of those players. Like, that team played hard, but there was no question. The arena was a joke. The whole thing, what's going to happen, linger over, that's been answered. And at least the one thing, Rod, now is, You see commitment to some of the contracts long-term, adding a Sergachev, not always being the dumping ground. Hey, you got a contract, you want cap space, we'll give you cap space. Well, at some point, you got to fight for a playoff spot. I don't think, to your point, they're quite there yet, but at least it's a positive environment where they're going to, and I look forward. I just was tired. It was like Arizona was, wake me up when it's over. I'm tired of hearing this. I know it's not going to end well except for the owner, and that's exactly what happened.
And further to that, they signed Dylan Guenther to a long-term deal, and Connor Ingram was the Masterton winner last year. So, yeah, they were in it till Christmas. I don't think anybody could have got more out of them than Andre Tournier did. But there's still that team. Now, to your honesty, I just want to know your thought on expansion, because I guess, I didn't hear this, but on NHL radio recently, somebody said there's going to be 2 more expansion teams on the horizon. They didn't say necessarily where, but the league's going to 34 teams. Do you really believe that?
Oh, at some point, yes. Now Gary Bettman very quickly has put, water over the fire about it. But let's face it, if it's not a reality in the next year or 2 or 3 or whatever, I agree with them there. But no question, you look at, they're licking their chops. What happened? The money they split from Seattle, the money they split from Las Vegas. And it's a credit to the league. I know the players, it's funny, there was the big Amazon presser the other day in Toronto about, the new Monday Night Hockey, and some of them are ex-players there, and they go back to 2005 and the lost year of hockey, and they don't view the cap as a good thing. The Gary Bettman prefers to call it cost certainty. Look what it's done for the value of franchises. Like if you could buy any business and you're basically, you're going to get revenue sharing, there's a TV deal, and you know what your expenses are, they're fixed. And that's why it's gone so well. And that's why it's looked as an attractive situation. Whether you go back to Arizona, they always talk about Houston, they're talking about Atlanta again. I don't know if the ship has sailed in Quebec City. The LA Kings are going to play a couple of exhibition games there later on. And I brought up a second team in Toronto just because there's an urban myth, unsubstantiated, but the 2 media giants, Rogers and Bell Globe Media, were the co-owners of the majority shares, and Rogers bought out Bell Globe Media. It's kind of like Fox and CNN or whatever or ESPN would be the comparables. And there had been an urban myth that when that happens, the other situation, Bell Globe Media here, would have the right to pursue a new second team in the Toronto area and not have to indemnify territorial rights to the existing team, because that's a big nut that you've got to overcome. So there's a whack of things in place. So even though Gary Bettman may say, and I believe him, there's no expansion right now on the horizon, everyone's got to love it that if you own a house and all you're hearing is how expensive everything is going, even if you're not moving, you love it, right? That's what you want to hear. So I believe at some point, yes, it'll be up to 34 and at some point 36. It seems, and I'm not excited about it. It's just the reality nowadays.
I guess if it doesn't really affect the quality of play, then I'm all for it too. I'm all for more teams, absolutely. Let me just say this, Gord. Are you a day one guy at SiriusXM? I know Laughlin is. Were you a day one guy there?
No, because after day one, they upped the standards since they brought in Scott Laughlin, those guys. It's a higher bar. Yes, I'm about a day 2 guy. So before, like on the media side, I had a all sports show on the first all sports station in Canada, The Fan, in Toronto. I had about a 17-year run, and it was a great run. I was very fortunate, did some TV stuff as well. And then I kind of morphed over. And you know what, Rod? I'm not being a shill here. Like, it's great how NHL Network Radio has really, really grown. And shows like yours, because we know the old terrestrial radio has some challenges in a big, big way. And I fortunately enjoyed the gravy days of The Fan. So I got in about 9 years ago or so at NHL Network. And I believe it's going to be my final home as far as radio goes. And it's going great. Like, it kicks ass and it's fun to talk hockey, but I would say I'm a day 2 guy.
Well, selfishly, I hope it's your last job because I really enjoy it. But I think about this often. They had this deal in 2005 when it launched. For $500, you could have a lifetime satellite membership. And I didn't have $500, so I kept paying monthly. I've given them thousands of dollars. I should have paid the $500 at the time, but you know what? It's worth it for the $20 a month or whatever to love it that much. Gordy, thank you so much, man. Obviously, we've been wanting to do this for a while. It was as good as I'd hoped. Enjoy the hockey.
Yeah, we'll chat down the road. Thanks. And I'm going to try extra harder tomorrow, knowing how much money you've put into SiriusXM. So we appreciate that as well. Okay, Rod? Okay. I'll give you that.
All right. Gord Stellick joining us, Stellicktricity. I'm not joking, man. For $500, you could have a lifetime membership, and I just should have taken the deal. All right, from the frying pan into the fire. Gord's partner, Scott Laughlin, joins us next. We are live here on the Game Plus television network, national television across Canada and 31 U.S. states, and we are on the radio in Atlanta. We are Atlanta's NHL show on WQEE 99.1 FM, as you know, streaming live on YouTube and Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
The RPShow is brought to you by Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concerts. Canadian owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. We've got it all. Use the promo code RPShow at checkout for 15% off. Check them out today at seatgiant.ca. Okay, Scott Laughlin joins us next. And I'm not sure, Scott, if you were riveted to your screen for that last interview with Gord Stellick. We've been trying for years, literally, to get your partner on. We had his email wasn't working. He was wondering why we never asked him and always had you. Communication's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Well, look, you should have just asked me, Rod. I would have hooked you guys up. I would have introduced you guys. And just like Gord Stellick, just always coming on and trying to upstage me. So here he comes. But in all seriousness, you've listened to the program before, Rod. You know how it works. He carries the show.
I love the way what's your relationship like, without prying? I'm going to pry anyways, away from the studio, because you tease the heck out of each other in the studio. Is it like it outside the building?
Yeah, I think, Gord and I, at the end of the day, we're not going over to each other's houses for barbecues during the summer. But at the end of the day, we do have, I think, a great deal of respect for one another. We've each been doing this, like you, Rod, for a long, long time now. And I've got a lot of respect for anybody who's stuck around our business, Rod, like yourself and like Gord, for as long as we have, because it's a very unstable business, if you know what I mean. I met Gord for the first time back in 1992, and I was a young reporter for the then Standard Broadcast News. We were the competing newswire service for all the radio stations in Canada. So I worked at Standard, and I got sent down to a bunch of Leafs games. Gord was working color on radio with the Leafs back then. He had finished up as the general manager and was working color. I was sitting next to the woman who turned out to be Gord's wife in the press box, Lisa, and we struck up a conversation. And during one of the intermissions, he said, "Oh yeah, here's my husband, Gord Stellick." And I was in awe. I was like, "This is the Gord Stellick, the former general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and this is the team I grew up idolizing." And so all these years, and we've kept in touch after all these years, but all these years later, we get to do a radio show together each and every morning and talk about hockey. So it's a fun existence, and he's a great guy to work with.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say all the how things have changed since then. From here, I'm going to do a podcast on the Panthers and Lightning with Bill Lindsay. Just, we didn't even barely have the internet back then, let alone how things have changed. But anyways, I enjoy how much fun you guys have on there and enjoyed your interview with my good friend Shane Knighty today. We have a bit of a theme, Scott, and it is today, which non-playoff team, if you could only pick one, do you expect to make it this year? It feels like everybody's got a different one. Who would be yours?
Well, I think the low-hanging fruit, and I'm going to take this, Rod, I think is going to be New Jersey. I think that situation sets up really well for Sheldon Keefe to move in there. For all the criticism Sheldon Keefe took as the head coach of the Leafs, we know one problem he didn't have, Rod, and that was winning hockey games during the regular season, right? The Devils come in, they've improved their goaltending from the outset. They're more stable in goal. With Jake Allen backing up Jacob Markstrom, if he stays healthy and plays anywhere close to the way he did in Calgary over the course of that tenure, I think New Jersey's going to be better off for it. I think you've got a 100-point guy in Jack Hughes. I think Dougie Hamilton comes back and makes that team a little bit deeper on the back end. Simon Nemec maybe takes that next step as well. So they've got a real good mix, I think, of veterans and youth. They've stabilized the goaltending. They've got a great regular season coach in the fold now, and I think he gets them back to the postseason.
I don't know if you personally know Sheldon Keefe, and even if you did, I'm not sure he'd say, but what do you think he learned in Toronto that he could take forth to New Jersey? Look at Travis Green's been fired. You learn every time. Look at Tortorella's been fired everywhere. They still keep getting jobs, and I would think they learn where they go. What do you think Keefe learned in Toronto?
Well, you're so right, Rod, because any coach that we've talked to that gets a second or a third opportunity always says, "Hey, I learned a lot from the first existence, and I learned to correct these mistakes, and I'm a better coach for it." We just had Don Granato on the show, former Sabres head coach, yesterday. He's going to be our Tuesday morning NHL Network Radio Hockey Insider. We went out for a team dinner on Monday night, and just to talk hockey with Don off the record, some of it on the record, was fantastic. And the same sort of thing. He gets an opportunity now to sit back and see the entire league, see the way other teams operate, because let's face it, where you're in the midst of your own team, that's all you deal with on a day-in, day-out basis. The interesting thing when it comes to Sheldon, as you know, Rod, he had little to no downtime with which to scout the rest of the league. So he's just simply playing off of coaching the Toronto Maple Leafs, arguably the most popular franchise in the NHL. Certainly up in Canada, they in Montreal will make the case for all that. I just think he's probably going to be better off. He doesn't have to deal with the same amount of media, right? Let's face that, and let's get that out of the way right off the hop there. So it'll be a little bit easier for him to deal with the media pressure. And I think from this point forward, his job is to get New Jersey back to the playoffs. For the Leafs, it was about advancing in the playoffs. Right now in New Jersey for 24-25, they would take just getting back into the postseason, throwing their hat in the ring, see how far they can take it. Different expectations, I think, in New Jersey. And I think for that, it's going to make him a better coach. And I think you make some adjustments along the way. I mean, the power play they had in Toronto was lights out good. And instead of having Austin Matthews run your power play ostensibly with everything going through him, it'll be going through Jack Hughes now as well. So I think every coach picks up a little bit here or there as far as X's and O's and systems are concerned. But I think even the littlest things, like we say, dealing with the media, the expectations, the pressure that comes along with being a National Hockey League head coach, as we know, markedly different in the Garden State as compared to Toronto.
Well, and maybe a little anonymity too. Like, have you lived anywhere other than Toronto in your life, Scott?
Just Ottawa, because I went to Carleton University, the best university on the planet, Carleton Ravens, still trying to win our second football game of the season, Rod, but we've got Panda coming up against the U of Zero. Anyway, having said that, no, it was just Ottawa, going to Carleton University.
Again, the reason I ask is all this time I've spent in Calgary and my good friends, like, it's insane Flames there. Insane. 24/7. But the Tim Hunters, the Lanny McDonalds, the Jamie McCowans, the Colin Pedersen, who's from Toronto, all the guys that have lived in both cities, they're like, it's 10 times worse in Toronto. And I'm like, how could it be? I can't even imagine what it would be like in Toronto to be the head coach of that hockey team, man. It's just insane. Is that like that for you, Scott?
It kind of feels that way. I mean, anything that these guys do gets magnified. And I often laugh too, Rod, when I hear players say, it would be great to play in a hockey mad market like Toronto. Wouldn't it be fantastic to be around a fan base that's as passionate as Leafs Nation is, about fans who really care about every move that we make in the whole bit? And then they get to Toronto and you lose 6 out of 7, and all of a sudden, you know, the bloom comes off the rose, so to speak, right? All of a sudden, you're like, what have I gotten myself into here? Man, is this going to get any worse? So, again, be careful what you wish for. Only a certain number of players, only the right types of players, like the Newendykes and the Roberts coming back to Ontario, can succeed in Toronto. It's a hockey hotbed. It's like Montreal. When you're winning, everybody loves you. When you're losing, boy, it's a tough town to play in.
Ooh. Yeah, well, Ryan Getzlaff, I did an event with him, and he was like, I would have always liked to have played for a Canadian team. I'm like, Ryan, stop it. You had a great career in Anaheim. You won a Stanley Cup. You're going to the Hall of Fame. Everybody wants what they can't have, which, by the way, that's Saskatchewan in the CFL. And Moose Dupont was telling me, Darren Moose Dupont, just as I wind this up, he was in your studio recently, and he says that you're doing some CFL stuff. I see Sirius and the CFL announced an extension today to their deal. What are you doing with the CFL, Scott?
Well, this season, Rod, I've been doing a weekly interview, and the Canadian Football League PR department has hooked me up with a player that usually had a great week just the week before. So I've enjoyed really getting back into it, diving into it head first. Being solely, exclusively in and around the NHL the last 20 years or so, I've missed the Canadian Football League. You know it better than anybody, Rod. The guys are great to deal with. Fantastic individuals for the most part up and down throughout the league. It's been great to get back into it. I mean, I've talked to everybody this season from Bo Levi Mitchell, and boy, if Hamilton gets into the playoffs, look out. He just might be the MOP once again, but they still have some heavy lifting to do to make sure that happens. So whether it's Tyson Philpott or whether it's Justin McInnes or Bo Levi Mitchell or Winton McManus, whoever the case might be, it's been great to talk with these guys once again and just get a piece of what the CFL's got to offer here as we head down the stretch.
Awesome. Awesome to hear. Scott, thanks for the time, man. Enjoy the season. I hope we can do it again soon. And keep on keeping on, brother. Keep on trucking.
Anytime you call, Rod, I'm there to answer it. Thanks very much.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. SiriusXM NHL Radio's Scott Laughlin. We got the duo today. How about that, Gord and Scott? Nice work, Clark. Said we'd be previewing the NHL season. We brought in the top cheddar. We'll be back with overtime right after this. Get all your questions and comments in for the final segment, 902-518-3033. We're live on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, streaming live on YouTube, and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Overtime is here. And oh boy, I feel like we just covered a lot today. Overtime brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, 28th Street Northeast. If you're watching Randy and Michelle, hey-o. Hockey season is here. I hope everybody got ready for it by perfecting their shot at Overtime Hockey Lanes. If not, there's still time. Team building, office parties, family events, they got you covered at Overtime Hockey Lanes, plus with a licensed bar as well. I might add that you should join veteran NHL coach Lauren Mulligan, Rough Riders great Bob Poley, curler Gil Dash, and me at the first ever Wolseley Celebrity Sports Dinner Saturday, October 19th A night of stories, laughs, and a great dinner benefiting the Wolseley Sportsplex. For tickets, email wolseley.arenaboard@gmail.com. Less than a month away, I'll be seeing you in Wolseley telling great hockey and football stories there. Before I get to the sports update, I asked you to please write in for overtime with your final questions and comments of the day. We're asking, which team do you think will make that step forward into the Stanley Cup playoffs this year? Alan is watching in Richmond Hill, Ontario, and he says if Detroit can pick up a good goalie, they should finally get back to the playoff. And they have, I believe, with Cam Talbot. He was playing the All-Star game last year while as a member of the Los Angeles Kings. Talk about coaches learning things in prior stops. I think Cam Talbot might have picked up a thing or two as well, and he's in goal for Detroit. Read my column this week in the South Florida Tribune, by the way, where I make that prediction that Detroit will get in, and I think Tampa's out. Freddie in Winnipeg writes in, and he says, hey, Rod, good hockey talk with Gord and Scott. As for NHL expansion to 34 and maybe 36 teams, I'm sure Atlanta will get another shot at a franchise. I hope you're right. I don't know. I don't get my hopes up for things. We are Atlanta's NHL show, so it certainly would work very well, wouldn't it, Rhino Radio at WQEE? But I'll just wait and see. I equate it to this. There was talk earlier about building new stadiums and new arenas. When we broke ground in Saskatchewan, I can't remember the dates now, but roughly, I want to say June of 2015, if that sounds right, on the new stadium. It was a 24-month build. Maybe it would have been 2014. Yeah, that's what it was. And finished it 2 years later. I'm like, although I drove by it every day, I didn't even really want to look at it. Because I'm like, think about something else. Think about something else. The anticipation is killing me. And that's where I'm at with NHL expansion. If it happens, great. If not, if it doesn't, we're not out anything. I just don't want to get my hopes up. I'll think about something else. Like the fading Toronto Blue Jays, who have lost 5 straight and 7 of their past 8. They're going to be trying to snap that skid tonight when they wrap up a 3-game series with the visiting Boston Red Sox. The Jays blew a 3-0 lead last night, lost 6-5 and 10 to the Red Sox, who have won 4 in a row. More interesting, and what everybody's talking about is going on in Oakland. The A's already have carved out a Jekyll and Hyde legacy as one of Major League Baseball's most successful, but also sad sack franchises, with 9 World Series titles, but also 19 seasons of 100 or more losses in their history. Now, legions of A's fans view the team as the sport's most treacherous under the ownership of billionaire John Fisher, an heir of the family that founded The Gap in 1969, the store The Gap. 1 year after the A's moved to Oakland from Kansas City, as the A's close out 57 seasons in Oakland before moving to Sacramento and then Las Vegas, it's heralding the end of an era that's crushing a community's soul. I feel bad for them, but not that bad. That could have been Calgary if they hadn't built a new arena for the Flames, or aren't building a new arena for the Flames. Build an arena, folks. Are you going to lose your team? Kind of the moral of the story. There are 8 games on the NHL preseason slate tonight, including exhibition contests in Winnipeg and Abbotsford. The Jets host the Oilers, while the Flames play the Vancouver Canucks in Abbotsford. Canucks beat the Seattle Kraken last night 2-1. Are you watching the WNBA? The stage is set for Asia Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces to take on Brianna Stewart and the New York Liberty in a star-studded rematch of last year's WNBA Finals. This time, it's a round sooner. The Liberty and Aces swept their first-round opponents and will meet Sunday in a semifinal showdown. New York has been on a mission all season to get back to the finals and capture the franchise's first WNBA championship. To accomplish that goal, they'll have to beat the 2-time defending champion Aces. So that's what's going on there. I don't know if you're following it or not. It was on ESPN2 last night, so I was watching some of the game in New York, and I found it entertaining. Let me just get in the sponsor read. The sports update's brought to you by Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concerts. It's Canadian-owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Justin Timberlake, Taylor Swift, they've got it all. Use promo code RPShow for 15% off at checkout. Check them out at seatgiant.ca. And also for Landmark Cinemas, get more of what you love. And that's free movies and concession items with Landmark Extras. Plus, invitations to exclusive screenings, special events, and more. Sign up for free today at landmarkcinemas.com. As I was, I went to a movie yesterday. I didn't enjoy it. The Killers game, but it was something to do. Tonight, going to be following the Panthers and the Lightning. It's funny because everybody here is like, is it on TV? I don't know. If it's not, we'll be streaming it at floridapanthers.com. It's not the end of the world. An interesting time in the broadcasting world, isn't it? Hey, Ryan Radio writes in from WQEE. He says, all good if we get another NHL team. In the meantime, we'll just cheer for the Florida Panthers or the Nashville Predators. I feel like the Panthers are Atlanta's NHL team right now. But yeah, I would like to have an NHL team in Atlanta. I think that would be fantastic. Another NHL team within a drivable distance. Thanks, Ryan. See you tomorrow, everybody.
McFly, hello.